Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about chapter 1 of the book, If You Can Keep It. And I'll remind you, as I reminded you last time, that I didn't write this book. Eric Metaxas wrote this book. I am making comments as I see them on the book. I may miss big points. I may misinterpret something. So if there's a disagreement in your mind between myself and Eric Metaxas, I'm telling you, trust Eric. He's smarter than me. So here's where we are. We're on the idea of America, chapter 1. And the first point Eric makes in the book is that America was not established as a place for one type of people. People rule the land. The Roman government was established for one type of generic people. It was Romans. Germany was established for Germans. Greece was established for the Greeks. And God help you if you weren't a Roman, a German, or a Greek. But in our country, we were established as a government for all kinds of people, for everyone who wants to come to our country and be free. So our nation, different than the ideals of other nations, is this. Whereas Rome was held together through the generic idea of promoting Romans, our government was held together through the simple mechanism of an idea. And as Metaxas tells us on page 19, that idea was freedom, the idea upon which we were established. So on page 21, he begins to delve into this idea of the secret of our success. Now I'll tell you, I can't stand the phrase, what's the secret sauce? We all know the secret sauce was mayonnaise and ketchup and relish mixed together. But there really is a secret of America, and he tells us on page 21. He says, so what is the secret of our success? And he says, what makes us exceptional is the idea that America exists primarily not for itself, but for others. Our secret is that we are established for others, not ourselves. We hear the term American exceptionalism. And American exceptionalism is based on this idea, on two ideas. That number one, freedom was for everybody. We don't copyright freedom. Anybody can have freedom. Anybody can come to our country for freedom. We will go to their country and show them how we do it so everyone can have it. The second idea is one that's very much in the news today, is that all through our history we've opened our borders to immigrants. We've thrown open our borders to allow others to come in. And we struggle with that now as to how we can do that and continue to maintain our control of our own government. But to the extent we can do it, to the extent we can do it legally, we should continue to allow immigrants to come into our country and experience our freedom. Page 25 says, we are not to shine so that we can be admired. We are to shine as hope to the rest of the world. And he'll go back to this thought where Ronald Reagan pointed out that we're a city, a shining city on a hill. And that is truly what we want to do. In fact, if you want to support the world, help America to remain. Because without it, the world will suffer. On page 26, he gives us this idea of self-government, which was astonishing. He says most of us do not understand that the idea of self-government, we don't understand it enough to be properly astonished by it. But in the day of our nation's birth, the idea of self-government was so new as to be staggering. No one dreamed that a rebellion against a leader would produce a free people. in the past, rebellions against leaders were led by the person who would eventually become the leader. But in our country, where we had a rebellion, we became the leaders. We, the people, became the leaders. He says that self-government, it starts on page 31, self-government needs two ideas. One, that man is fallen, and two, that man could be redeemed. If you think about it, our country is based on this idea that man is fallen, therefore we need laws. We need a social contract that states how we will behave. We also need to know that in this social contract that we give away some liberties in order to get a greater liberty. You know, every April 15th, I voluntarily give away my money to the government. Now, the social contract says if I don't give away my money, they're going to come and give me a quick call and say, how would you like to go to jail? I mean, that's what the social contract of our country says, that I will give voluntarily to our country, if I live here, in order to obtain a greater freedom. Also, the idea that we are fallen, but that can be redeemed, is found in our checks and balances. We have an executive branch. We have the Congress. We have the Supreme Court. And all three of those branches allow us to have checks and balances. And as a commentary, I would be worried at this point that our country is losing some of those checks and balances. There is a liberal confusion. This is not the political liberal, but there is a liberal confusion that our country is one of license. That if you live in America, you can do anything you want to. But we control that by our social contract. There's also a conservative era, not the political conservative, but a conservative era that says we can free others by simply letting them vote for their leaders. And we give freedom to people who don't understand it. This is truly what happened in Iraq and Russia. In Iraq and Russia, we gave freedoms to people who weren't prepared for it, who had no knowledge or no lifestyle that was focused around a creator. So our creator is central. And on page 48, as we wind this up, on page 48, he says these words: if you take God and faith and morality out of the equation, everything falls apart. What we're left with, and it's this impossible, seemingly impossible task, impossible for the founders to even see that as history went on, we would slowly go away from our faith in God, our morals. And if the founders could see us now, they would be worried that our change in faith, our change in morals, tends to erode the very freedoms that we're proud of. In the next chapter, we're going to talk about the Golden Triangle, and we will see how our faith and our liberties all rest upon each other. Thanks.